Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro arrived in Baku, Azerbaijan's capital, as part of his regional tour. The fourth day of mobilizations in the framework of the nationwide strike called by the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities in Ecuador against the policies of President Guillermo Lassos' administration continued on Thursday. Authorities in Burkina Faso confirmed the death toll from an attack by insurgents in Burkina Faso's northern town of Saitenga has risen to 86 as 7 more bodies have been found. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro arrived in Baku, Azerbaijan's capital, as part of his Eurasian tour. Azerbaijan is the sixth nation the South American head of state visits. Previously, President Maduro met with the highest authorities of Qatar, Kuwait, Turkey, Iran, and Algeria. The Venezuelan president aims with this international tour to promote the construction of a multipolar world and boost cooperation in areas such as science, technology, agriculture, transportation, energy, tourism, and culture. As part of his tour around Eurasian countries, this time in Qatar, the Venezuelan president visited the impressive Lusail Stadium, the venue that will host the most important football games of the FIFA World Cup, Qatar 2022. This state-of-the-art stadium was designed to be an exquisite representation of the Arab world, with bowls and pieces of art typical of the region. During his tour of the largest stadium in Qatar, President Nicolás Maduro visited the facilities that can accommodate more than 80,000 fans. All the spaces of this groundbreaking stadium have air conditioning to guarantee maximum comfort for athletes and visitors. The Venezuelan head of state also toured the Aspire Academy, responsible for training high-performance athletes for the most important sports competitions in the world. The visit concluded at the Aspire Hospital, specialized in orthopedics and sports medicine. This center is considered one of the hospitals with the best treatment for sports-related injuries. In Colombia, presidential candidate Gustavo Petro said he accepts the conditions set by his opponent Rodolfo Hernandez to hold a televised debate vis-a-vis the runoff election set for Sunday, June 19th. Through a communique published in his Twitter account, Gustavo Petro from the Historical Pact said he is willing to take part in a presidential debate and that he will not condition his participation. Petro also said he will not be questioning the provisions of public media in organizing the event. Meanwhile, candidate Rodolfo Hernandez, initially opposed to the idea, is abiding by the court's ruling provided certain conditions be met. The court ruled a presidential debate was needed so as to safeguard the right of citizens to be informed about the candidate's government plan. Tensions are increasing in the final stretch of the electoral campaign in Colombia. As June 19 approaches, the candidate for the Historical Pact, Gustavo Petro, has publicly challenged National Registrar Alexander Vega Rocha, whom he accuses of lying and of being biased in favor of the campaign of Rodolfo Hernandez. On Wednesday, the registrar asked from the representative of the Historical Pact to publicly commit to accepting the results of next Sunday's elections. Gustavo Petro said that the demand by the registrar is proof of his partiality. He also insisted in denouncing the refusal of the registrar to allow an audit of the vote counting software. Petro reminded Vega Rocha that he is not complying with the ruling of the State Council and accused him of lying about the software being reliable. In an interview to a national media outlet, Petro said the software is a technical liability the people will have to withstand on voting day. In Bolivia, the first anti-corruption sentencing court of La Paz completed the reading of the sentence on the case Govt 2, issued last June 10th. As of now, the concerned parties are preparing their appeals. The court has sentenced former Senator Jenny Náñez, former Army Commander Williams Caliman, and former Police Commander Vladimir Calderon to 10 years in prison. Caliman and Calderon remain fugitives from justice. 4 other officials were convicted but with lesser sentences. The prosecution waited until Wednesday to know the entire text of the sentence, and they have now appealed the sentence. They argue that given the gravity of the crimes committed by Áñez, she should have been sentenced to 15 years in prison. Constitutional lawyer Franklin Gutierrez said that the document read this Wednesday took note of all the evidence introduced at the trial by the Attorney General's office.
The crime, which is failing to fulfill their duties, there are circumstantial elements around it, which are actions by the military. The decision of forbidding deputies to enter the session, it was made by the mastermind, and it should be revealed in the first case. When Mrs. Añez, who had the mandate, says, "I'm in command, but I have no power," that's very revealing. But herself, as a lawyer, as a former constitutional representative, she knows what the internal regulations of the Chamber of Senators are. Therefore, she being aware of how things should be done, she failed to fulfill her duties.
In Chile, the price of fuels will increase as of this Thursday. This was announced by the national oil company. The prices of 93 and 97 octane gasoline and diesel will increase by 11.8 pesos per liter, while liquefied petroleum gas will increase by 11.6 pesos per liter. The company said it decided these increases based on the import parity price fuel, the fuel stabilization mechanism, and the oil price stabilization fund, which regulate these decisions in the sector. This is the first price hike after more resources allotted to the fuel stabilization mechanisms approved by the Chilean Congress in previous weeks. The World Health Organization has confirmed that 16 countries in the Americas have already met the goal set by WHO itself of vaccinating 70% of their population against COVID-19. According to WHO's Regional Director Clarice Etienne, to this date, they have enough vaccines to guarantee protection for all people, including those most vulnerable to the virus. This was possible thanks to the commitment of national governments and donors, as well as for the financial and technical support WHO has received to meet the set goal. According to data provided by the organization, states and territories are administering booster shots more frequently, much more so than in the first phase.
We are almost at the end of the first semester of 2022, and we can say that we have almost met the goal set by the World Health Organization of having vaccinated at least 70% of the eligible population in our region by now. 16 countries have already met the set goal, and others are about to, like in the cases of Colombia, Bermuda, and El Salvador, who have vaccinated at least 65% of their population, and they might be able to accelerate the vaccination campaign in the next few weeks.
Global COVID-19 cases exceed 534 million, with over 6.3 million deaths as of this Thursday, according to data from the World Health Organization. Specifically, global confirmed cases of COVID-19 have risen to more than 500 million, including more than 6 million deaths. The WHO's COVID-19 dashboard showed, as of June 16, the United States has recorded more than 85.94 million confirmed COVID-19 cases nationwide, with more than 1 million deaths. It remained the nation worst hit by the pandemic in terms of confirmed cases and related deaths. In Europe, Germany registered now 92,000 COVID-19 infections. Meanwhile, the number of new COVID-19 cases per day in India continued to increase at a pace, with more than 12,000 new cases recorded during the past 24 hours. As of June 6, more than 11 million vaccine doses had been administered globally. We are taking a short break now. Join us again after this.
El mundo se mueve constantemente y todos los días se generan nuevos sucesos. Se mueve la geopolítica mundial. Nos preguntamos qué hay detrás de cada acontecimiento, cuáles son las consecuencias y cómo nos afectan. Ante estas preguntas, buscaremos poner el punto en la I.
Welcome back from the South. The fourth day of mobilizations in the framework of the nationwide strike called by the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities in Ecuador against the policies of President Guillermo Lassos' administration continued on Thursday. On this day, the National Union of Educators called for a mobilization in the 24 provinces of the country to denounce the government of President Guillermo Lasso for delaying the implementation of equal pay and the organic law in intercultural education. Teachers also demanded the Constitutional Court to approve the law to grant an increase in the budget allocated to the education sector and the creation of new resources of employment. Educators' protests added to others within the framework of the ongoing nationwide strike called by the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities and other social organizations.
Protests are being held nationwide, and it is normal for students to protest and to seek refuge in the college campus. The university has autonomy. Tomorrow we are going to stage a big march. I don't know if you may have read the manifesto approved by the University Council. It is a comprehensive and important manifesto. And the University Council also decided that we all, students, professors and university personnel, should take part in a march.
Russia, Iran and Turkey agreed to make further efforts to ensure calm in Syria's de-escalation area, the three countries said in a joint statement after talks in Kazakhstan. At the conclusion of the Astana talks, the three states renewed their commitment to the sovereignty, integrity and territorial integrity of Syria, stressing their determination to continue working to fight terrorism in all its forms. The countries reaffirmed their stand against separatist agendas aimed at undermining peace and territorial safety of Syria, condemning the terrorist attacks targeting civilian facilities in Damascus. The final statement stressed the need to continue ongoing cooperation to eliminate ISIS and al-Nusra terrorists and the groups associated with them. On Thursday, Bulgaria's parliament dismissed its president, Nicolás Maduro, after a vote of no confidence. The reason for the crisis is the certainty that Petkov is holding secret negotiations with Brussels to lift Bulgaria's veto against the start of North Macedonia's negotiations to join the European Union. That is why a total of 125 deputies voted in favor of Minshev's dismissal. Minshev is one of Petkov's closest collaborators. There were 113 votes against it and one abstention. This non-confidence vote against Minshev by the Conservative Party of Citizens for the European Development of Bulgaria might ensure the fall of Petkov's executive. In the framework of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Russia, Robert Eggy, stated that only 11% of United States oil companies left the Russian hydrocarbons market. While explaining the numbers, the executive said that 85% of U.S. companies decided to stay in the Eurasian nation and 4% have yet to make a decision. He added that relations with Russian unions and associations such as the Russian Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs remain strong, despite last week's statements issued by State Department spokesman Ned Price about the country not attending the forum and ordering world leaders and businesses to join the boycott. The attendance has been noticeable since the first day of the event. In fact, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce appeared in the list of speakers. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Authorities in Burkina Faso confirmed the death toll from an attack by insurgents in Burkina Faso's northern town of Saitenga has risen to 86 as 7 more bodies have been found. The massacre at the village of Saitenga is the second worst in the history of Burkina's insurgency, which started in 2015 when armed groups launched cross-border raids from Mali. Attacks mainly by groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group have since claimed thousands of lives, while nearly 2 million have fled their homes. The previous toll in the Saitenga attack stood at 79. Meanwhile, Togo's National Civil Protection Agency reported that more than 600 people from Burkina fled to the northern part of the country in search of safety. Flights were cancelled, public transport ground to a halt, and government offices were closed in a nationwide strike by Tunisia's main trade union confederation on Thursday that put pressure on President Kais Saied, already facing a string of crises. The powerful General Labor Union Confederation had called on up to 3 million public sector workers to strike, halting work at nearly 159 state agencies and public companies to demand concessions on salaries and threaten reforms. The action appeared to be widely observed as strike by public sector workers at Tunis airport saw dozens of flights cancelled, while public utilities and post office were closed. In a speech before the people mobilized outside UGTT headquarters, the Secretary General of the Confederation, Nureddin Tabouidi, said the action had been over 96% successful and blamed the government for the collapse of salary negotiations.
What brought us to this situation is this government. If we have come to this point, it is because this is a stubborn government which sow discord and spreads false information. The program that was presented to the IMF for economic reforms is what we should be presented to the people, and not the nice titles. Tell the truth to the people.
Hurricane Blast, the second named storm of the eastern Pacific season, strengthened from a tropical storm as it moved off the Pacific coast of southwestern Mexico, though it wasn't expected to pose a threat to land. The United States National Hurricane Center said Blast would strengthen a bit more, but would likely begin weakening late in the week as it headed out into the open ocean. The hurricane had maximum sustained winds of 140 kilometers per hour on Wednesday night. It was centered about 405 kilometers south of the Mexico port of Manzanillo and was moving to the west-northwest at 9 kilometers per hour. The Hurricane Center stated that even though Blast wasn't forecast to make landfall, it could still cause dangerous surf conditions along Mexico's coast. And teleSUR expands its signal with new satellite parameters since more than ever the world connects to us and our stories are being heard in other faraway nations. These parameters are in place since June 1st in Latin America and the Caribbean, both in English and in Spanish, and quite soon further changes will be implemented for the signals in Europe, the Middle East and Africa. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. And the Emir Diwan Palace of the State of Qatar, inaugurating, is the headquarters of the executive power in the Arab nation, but is also one of the prime and most beautiful architectural pieces of Doha, the Qatari capital. The palace was the chosen venue for Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro's welcoming ceremony, accompanied by the Emir of Qatar, Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and other top officials. Enjoy images of this event and the Emir Diwan Palace as we come to the end of this news brief, where remember you can find this and other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and our social media platforms. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.
أنا في البداية أرحب بفخامة الرئيس الصديق العزيز وأيضا الوفد المرافق